Welcome to Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nick Roloff. Busy rundown here on this Thursday afternoon edition. Tua Tagovailoa might be injured. Popped up on the injury report on the initial one that came out yesterday on Wednesday. Jonah the rookie guard. Could he be moved from left guard back to right guard or right tackle? We'll also talk about some more injury news and defensive changes that could be coming. But let's start off with QB1 because I just mentioned a second ago, Tua, after not being on the injury report through the first 5 weeks of the year, was on the initial injury report Wednesday. Now, we're filming this live before the Thursday injury report comes out, so we'll see if anything changes on that end. But the initial injury report had 8 people on it. Tyrel Dodson was still in concussion protocol, DNP. The only other DNP was Darren Waller, but it was a rest day for the veteran. So you had 6 people limited: Larry Borom, Brewer, Elijah Campbell, Storm Duck, Tua, and Cedrick Wilson Jr. But I want to focus on Tua here with the injury report because it is a hip/thumb injury that limited Tua on Wednesday's practice. And this is intriguing to me. And it's not so much the thumb injury as it is the hip injury. Because if you flash back just a little bit ago, what is it at this point, 10 months? Tua missed the final 2 games of the season in Week 17 and 18 against the Browns and Jets with a hip injury. And if you go back to 2019, while he was still QB at Alabama, he had hip surgery, which cost him a full season. So this is an injury, at least on his body, and who knows if it's the same hip. I don't know. That is not clarified to this point. But we know he has dealt with hip injuries in the past. So that's what makes this slightly concerning for me in terms of long term. I wouldn't say it's concerning for this week, and we'll explain why, but long term, we got to monitor this. But make sure you do subscribe to the channel. 65 away from 76,400. 2 videos every day. We'll be live on Sunday for Chargers Dolphins Week 6 as well. Join the fam right now. Well, the reason why I'm not really concerned about it this week is because they told us we don't have to be. Dolphins offensive coordinator Frank Smith spoke to media on Thursday morning and said that the availability for Tua with the hip or thumb injury is pretty much non-existent, and he doesn't expect it to hinder his performance on Sunday against the Chargers either, which is obviously extremely important. I know a lot of people are down on Tua Tagovailoa as the QB1 of the future. I am one of those people, but there's no doubt about it. There is not going to be an upgrade at quarterback or offensive play if you take out Tua and input a Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers. So if you want the Dolphins to win football games, you're going to need Tua to be out there, which he will be this upcoming Sunday. Segue over to the offensive line now. Rookie offensive guard out of Arizona, Jonah has been a polarizing player to the point in this season due to his inability to play good football. He has been the worst offensive guard in the entire NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. And through 278 snaps, this is how it stacks up, I should say. I mean, I got to be honest. I'll call out PFF here. I don't understand how he has a 0.0 pass blocking grade on the season. He had a 60 pass blocking grade in Week 1 against the Colts, but then has logged, admittedly, 3-0 grades out of the last 4 weeks, but I still don't understand how it computes to a 0 on the year. It has been rough, though, from Jonah. He consistently gets beat, 16 pressures, 2 sacks, and some of the times he gets beat on these reps, it's like within half a second. It's almost like he's trying to be beat on that rep with how quickly he gets beat. And a lot of fans were contemplating and speculating, well, listen, he's only played left guard for 250 snaps in his career. Like, you look back at his college career, 450 snaps at left tackle, 700 at right guard, and 1,000 at right tackle. He's never played left guard. So I guess it could make sense to move him back to the right side. I'll explain more why I don't really think it matters that much, but Frank Smith said that the decision to move Jonah to the left side was long-term plan. They wanted him and Patrick Paul on the same side this season and beyond, and they don't plan on overreacting and flipping him to the right side, at least as of right now. But you make the decision for me. Should the Dolphins move Jonah back to the right side of the offensive line. Type M for move, or if you think they should keep him at left guard, type K for keep. I'll say this. Would it improve his play in the slightest to move him to right guard or right tackle while James Daniels or Austin Jackson are out? I would probably answer yes to that question. But does it matter in the long term? And listen, I'm not going to act like I understand the ins and outs to playing offensive line in the NFL, because I don't. But if you think that it's going to be night and day, all of a sudden he's an above average or average offensive guard just because he's playing on the right side, I just don't think that is very accurate. I think that's naive to believe an improvement would come if you did that. Now, if you moved him to a different position entirely, now we have a conversation. I mentioned it. In his 3 years at Arizona, he had 1 year fully at right tackle, 1 year fully at right guard, and 1 year splitting at left tackle and right tackle. So he actually played more snaps in college at right tackle than anything else. And he was predominantly a tackle, but most people projected a move to guard in terms of how he would fit at the next level the easiest. Well, with how poorly he's played at guard, if you wanted to try to salvage his rookie season and potential career by moving him to right tackle, then that's something I could consider. Because Austin Jackson has 1 year left on his deal, which is next season, and he is consistently missing time with injuries. And you're going to have to find a plan long-term at right tackle after next season, assuming you don't bring Austin Jackson back on a cheap 1 year deal. So maybe Savvy Naya being moved to right tackle is that long-term decision. We know Jackson has played guard in the past, so maybe you move Jonah to right tackle while Jackson's out. And if he plays extremely well and Jackson returns this season, you could put him at left guard, something he has done in the past. Just an idea out there. That's the only one I would consider. But if you're saying moving him from left guard to right guard, I don't really think anything would change. Coming up here in just 1 second, we're going to take a look at some defensive changes that could be on the horizon due to some injuries to Tyrel, Dodson, and in the secondary. But before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. The right decisions on Prize Picks can get you paid. It's so easy to play. You just pick more or less and at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. I have an entry in for Week 6, less than Justin Fields passing yards, less than Dylan Gabriel passing yards, and more than Deebo Samuel rushing and receiving touchdowns. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. As we segue to the defensive changes, Anthony Weaver spoke to media today and was asked about how much the defense has been struggling. Well, he very candidly answered that watching the film from the game against Carolina made him want to throw up. And listen, Anthony, same, man. I mean, listen, we said in the moment, you let Rico Dowdle dash you for 206 on the ground, and the Panthers as a team run for 239. Like, that's all sorts of rock bottom defensively. That's not a good rushing attack in Carolina. Rico Dowdle's a backup journeyman who was averaging 2.7 yards per carry entering that game. So, yeah, it's pretty brutal, and changes absolutely need to be made. But another reason why we will see change is because of all the injuries Miami's dealing with. Jason Marshall Jr. on IR. They placed Cornell Armstrong on IR earlier this week. So there is no nickel corner on this roster, and most of these corners Miami has are all boundary guys. So Douglas, Jack Jones, Juju Brents, Ethan Bonner, Storm Duck, all boundary guys. So who fills in the nickel? Well, it sounds like this role is going to be filled by safeties, which is why you subscribe to the channel, by the way, because when we were speculating about how Miami replaces Cornell Armstrong when he was placed on IR, we said it's going to be likely 3 safeties on the field almost at all times with 2 boundary corners. whether it's Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones or whether it's Rasul Douglas, Storm Duck when he returns from injury. Miami signed Jordan Colbert to the active 53-man roster in the corresponding roster move when Armstrong was on IR. And not many teams in the NFL really ever hold 6 safeties at one moment during the course of an NFL season. Miami's doing that right now. We know Minkah is going to be out there as a starter, but you got 5 other guys between Campbell, Trader Jr., Melifonwu, Colbert, and Davis that can all play in the back end, in the box, or in the nickel as a slot. And that's actually where you see a lot of experience with this safety room. They have a lot of career snaps in the slot. Take a look at the 5 safeties. Jordan Colbert's really never appeared in a regular season game, but the other 5 that you see a lot in the slot. Minkah Fitzpatrick has played 1,100 snaps in the slot. So if Miami wanted to, now would he want that? I don't know, and it could cause a little bit of an issue there with the veteran, but add it to the list of issues. Minkah Fitzpatrick could be moved to the nickel, and then you could play Ashtyn Davis and Ifeatu Melifonwu deep. But you could also play Ashtyn Davis in the slot, who's played there 304 times in his career, dating back to his first couple years in the league with the New York Jets. And Melifonwu, who was drafted as a corner by the Detroit Lions, was ultimately moved to safety, so he's had a lot of experience playing in the slot. I mean, you compare these snaps to what the Dolphins have at corner right now, and it does make sense to have a safety play that nickel position. I mean, Rasul Douglas is the number 1 corner you have in terms of snaps in the slot. He's been in the league for 8 seasons plus, and he's only had 333 snaps in the slot. I mean, Ashtyn Davis almost has that amount, and he's been in the league since 2019-2020, Douglas a couple of years prior to that. So when you look at how the Dolphins are going to handle their back end of their defense, it's going to be all hands on deck. And you're going to have to see this coaching staff really try to find who fits where in terms of the best possible combination. You know Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be on the field, but the other secondary members, if the Dolphins run a nickel formation, which they do more than 3/4 of the time, and have 5 defensive backs on the field, who are the other 4 that surround Minkah? You have to believe Rasul Douglas will be one of them because he's been solid, but the other ones, I don't know, man. I really don't. We're going to see a lot of different combinations. Moving over to the linebacker position here. Anthony Weaver said there are many opportunities to be had when it comes to KJ Brett, and Willie Gay if Tyrel Dodson ultimately misses this game. Still in concussion protocol, missed the last couple of practices, by the way. They're still trying to figure out who's going to be the green dot and signal caller for the Miami Dolphins. It was KJ Brett after the injury to Dodson on Sunday. Before I give you my thoughts, I want to know yours. Who should be the Dodson replacement? Should it be Willie Gay or should it be KJ Britt? Type WG for Willie, type KJ for KJ Britt. Listen, I think both should probably see snaps, but I just need more of Willie Gay. The fact that he has only appeared in 17 snaps this season is just an absolute ridiculous thing that we have to come to grips with. KJ Britt has had about 25 snaps, Willie Gay Jr. 17. So Britt's had slightly more opportunities, which is why his pure statistics are higher in terms of tackles. But in the limited opportunities Gay has had, he's been better. And he's been one of the highest graded defensive players on this Dolphins roster. He's rangy, he's athletic, he's fiery, energetic. Get him out on the football field, man. I don't care about the green dot. I mean, I know I should because it's the signal caller and it gets everyone organized. But if Willie Gay needs to do that, I think he can handle it. Jordan Brooks needs to do it, I think he can. If Minkah Fitzpatrick needs to be the green dot as a safety, I think he can as well. Point is, get your best defensive players out on the football field, considering you have the worst defense in the NFL. 17 snaps through 5 games for Willie Gay Jr. is malpractice. We're going to close today's show with more Dolphins injury news. We touched on Tyrel Dodson. We touched on Tua Tagovailoa in the initial Wednesday injury report earlier on this episode. Well, the practice notes coming out on Thursday was this. No Dodson once again. So feels very unlikely he plays in this game unless he gets cleared from concussion protocol over the next 48 hours. Aaron Brewer was limited once again. Elijah Campbell, after being limited on Wednesday, was a DNP on Thursday. We saw Darren Waller mixed in as he usually is, Cedrick Wilson. So the main takeaway I have here is that it feels like Tyrel Dodson is going to miss this game, which goes back to the conversation we just had about what linebacker ultimately replaces him and how they have that alignment. I think Willie Gay Jr. needs to play at least 50% of the defensive snaps. If you want to do a 50-50 split with Willie Gay and KJ Britt, that could be cool with me, but I need to see Willie Gay on the field for at least 25 snaps this week. He's played 17 all season. That just isn't acceptable to me. Play Willie Gay at least 25 snaps. That'll do it for this episode of Dolphins Today. We'll have more content coming out over the next couple of days. 2 videos on Friday, 2 videos on Saturday, and then live on Sunday for Week 6 Dolphins-Chargers action. So subscribe for the top coverage on YouTube surrounding the Miami Dolphins.